Welcome to Top Shelf. My name is David Pierce, and we're here in sunny, windy San Francisco for Google I/O. It's Google's annual developer conference where people who work for Google, people who make Google apps, and people who love Google get together and hang out. It's Google's biggest event every year, and it's where they announce all sorts of new products. This year, it started Wednesday morning with what was kind of an insane keynote. It was more than 6,000 people, and it took more than 3.5 hours. Google's I/O keynote covered seemingly everything the company is even slightly involved in, from big splashy products to the nittiest and grittiest of its APIs. It started with a lot of developer love. Google offered new ways to build, optimize, and sell your apps. There's multiplayer gaming, notification sync, cloud messaging, and a whole lot more. There's even a Play Store specifically for education. Those got big cheers from developers, but they're not really part of Google's products yet. Then came the new products from every corner of Google. There was no new version of Android, or new Android hardware, other than a surprise showing of a Samsung Galaxy S4 with stock Android. But we did get a new Google Music app, along with the new Google Music All Access. It's like Spotify, plus your own music collection in the cloud, and we really like it so far. There's also Hangouts, Google's attempt to unify messaging across all your devices through Google+. There's an app for iOS and Android, plus desktop messaging that lets you chat and video call from any device. We're liking that a lot too. Hangouts is part of a bigger change for Google+, which reorients the service really around your photos. You upload your photos to Google+ at huge resolutions, and Google's servers analyze them to organize them and even make them better. Better's maybe a debatable term here, though. Google's best demo of the day may have just been search. You can now talk to your computer about where you should eat dinner or how old Patrick Stewart is. Your computer will even guess what you mean by "what time is my flight?" And it'll show it all to you on Google's redesigned Maps, which adds some predictive functionality while stripping away all of the Chrome interface. The map, as they said, is the UI. It was a lot, even for 3.5 hours, and even excluding the time Larry Page told us all to go to Burning Man. But that's not all there was at I/O, and so we sent Casey Newton to find out the rest of it.
When most people think of Google I/O, they think of the keynote presentation and all the big announcements that get made there. But there's also a whole show floor. It's full of Googlers who are showing off Google stuff and third-party developers who are using Google products and services to make cool things of their own. One of the things that's cool about I/O is that Google brings out some of the gear that they generally keep under wraps. Here on the show floor, we've seen the Street View trike, the Street View trolley, and even the Street View snowmobile, all things that Google uses to make maps. This is the Leap motion controller paired with the new Google Maps. I'm feeling very much like a supervillain right now. The scrolling is really smooth, it's very responsive. You have to move much less than you might think in order to zoom in and zoom out. So I'm actually have been zooming maybe a little bit more than I would want, but I imagine that with practice you get much better at kind of controlling the environment. One of my favorite things here, Google employees hacked together 4 blimps using Raspberry Pi, Socket I/O, a servo, a Logitech webcam, and now the blimp is going all over the show floor. It's taking pictures and it's live streaming video. Google even built a special web app so that they can go in, take pictures live in real time. One of the big takeaways from yesterday's keynote is that Google is trying to build the computer from Star Trek that can answer any question. So we're in here playing with a special preview build of some new search features that they're working on. The Wi-Fi is really crowded in here, but we're going to see what it can do. Okay, Google, how old is Patrick Stewart?
Patrick Stewart is 72 years old.
Okay, Google, show me things to do in San Jose.
Here are popular attractions in San Jose.
Okay, Google, will you marry me?
Marriage is a huge decision. These results from the web might help.
I'm playing map diving. This is a Chrome experiment built by the nice folks over at Instrument. They've created a chain of 7 computers, each one attached to a different display, and they're rendering a game using live tiles from Google Maps. And I'm controlling it terribly with my arms right now. This whole thing is running in the browser using a 3D depth sensor to control the movement. It looks gorgeous, and I wish I were better at it. All right, 3 out of 51 stars, not bad.
So obviously there's a lot going on here, but the big question Google hasn't really answered is how it all works together. So we sat down with the guy who knows. It's Bradley Horowitz, the VP of Product for Google+. We had questions. So what I want to know about is really the two big pillars of what happened with Google+ this week were messaging and photos. Why those two things?
Well, I think there's opportunity to do something really significant and special in both those categories. For messaging, as you heard Vic say, there's been lots of point solutions over 50 years, right? And the landscape is there such that we all have devices we carry around, whether that's phones in our pocket or maybe glass eventually. Sure. But there's an opportunity now that you could literally reach another human on the planet with very little impediment. But we've gotten in our own way. Protocols, operating systems, media types, photos, video, it just doesn't work, right? There's little pockets of success, and you've seen some of these that have just nailed a single use case have taken off dramatically recently.
Apps like WhatsApp, for
instance. Yeah, like there's incredible viral potential for things that actually execute on this and do well. But there's no product that works across media types that's good for everything from text to photos to video to emoji.
People love emoji.
People love emoji. We've got 850 in Hangouts. I mean, anything you can think of and then some. We have an opportunity to distribute this widely between, things like Android and Chrome and Gmail. We can actually put this in the pocket or in the hand of every user on the planet. And so we saw an opportunity with messaging to really get this right. We've seen tremendous uptake and love for Hangouts. It's sort of the breakout success of Google+. We saw that we could take what was special about that, really connecting people, and make it ubiquitous, to give it to everybody and give it for free. That's another important part of this. If you're really going to be successful, you literally have to give it to people.
So is the advantage there just the scale that you have? You said you're able to bring it to everyone on the planet. Is that just because, just by nature of being Google, you have this reach that none of these other apps have?
I think that that's not necessarily new. Like, we've always had an opportunity to help users get our products, but what we haven't had was the product that delivered on this promise of across media types, one-to-one, one-to-many, cross operating systems. Now we have that product. We've got something worth sharing with the world, and that's really exciting.
And so all of these features are designed to, in some way, keep me in Plus, which is, obvious. That's sort of your goal. But so how does, Google Plus is also, it seems like it's two different things. It's the spine, as you've called it, of all of the other Google products, and it's also its own thing. So where does, with all this new stuff, how does Google Plus sort of continue to influence the rest of Google's products?
Well, one of the things I loved about the epic 3.5+ hour keynote was sitting there.
Epic is a good word for it.
And sort of counting the number of times that the other non-Google Plus parts of the keynote mentioned Google Plus and Google Plus identity. If you look at how tightly it's woven into the Android story, that's one example. Music, everywhere you can see Google Plus as the foundational layer that the company is betting on to understand people, their relationships, their interests, and serve them better.
So what about things like, one of the things we like about services like Spotify and Rdio is that they have this social layer where I can say, here's what my friends are listening to, and here's playlists my friends made that I might want to listen to. Do you imagine Google Plus being the backbone of something like that as well, even for music, and there's lots of other opportunities for what Google is trying to do with events and all sorts of stuff. Like, are my friends going to be a bigger part of my Google experience?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is our stated intention with Google Plus, is that every product at Google can be better by dint of you using your own data in your own service. And so whether it's ride sharing for maps or the ability to see your friends on a map, and there's been lots of point solutions that have sort of taken off in various domains, but we really feel we have an opportunity to get this right and return a tremendous amount of value to users. And music is a great example. Media in general is something that is very social in nature, and there's huge value to be had there.
And so I have to ask, we've had one sort of issue as we've used Hangouts, and I'm curious about this. So we have, everyone at The Verge has at least 2 Gmail accounts, and often many. And we know that's a fairly common problem among people. So there's now this sort of odd identity issue within Google Plus, where it's like, how do you find me And if I search for Billy, who's on the camera over here, I get like 6 different answers. So how do you sort of manage people's identity on Google+?
We're not doing this well, and we feel it acutely at Google. All of us have at least 2 accounts, right? We have our personal Gmail, we have our Google corporate account, and we need to do a better job. I mean, that's the short answer, is it's not you, it's us, and we're working on it actively. We feel your pain. It turns out to be a relatively complicated and subtle problem. Anytime you're dealing with issues of identity and authentication and accounts and account ownership, in some cases an organizing entity owns the account, and it gets very complicated. So
it's not as simple as just meshing
two of my emails together. It's not as simple as just mashing things together.
Okay.
We'd have done it a long time ago if it were that simple. Yeah. It actually turns out to be pretty subtle and nuanced, but rest assured we're working on it, and again, I think it is a pain point we feel acutely, and we're working on it as hard and fast as we can.
And so I guess what about Google Plus as opposed to something like Twitter or Facebook, where people use these, they have huge numbers of users, and you offer, on the one hand, something different, but on the other hand, something sort of competitive with both of those. How do you see those as playing together, or are you competing tangentially in a way that they can all work together? Like, who are you competing with as Google Plus?
I think the real opportunities are not about competitors. Larry had a great line yesterday, I think paraphrasing, he said something like, we need to build products that don't yet exist. I think that's what we're doing with something like Hangouts. There is no product that does all that Hangouts does. There's point solutions that do this or that. Something like Photos, the opportunity to take advantage of the Google scale infrastructure to do something great for people is something that does not exist and is a relatively valuable feature that's hard to replicate. So we're focused on bringing these things that are not Me Too features that clone existing products or other networks. Those networks may be great and they may have use cases that carry on, but that's not where our focus is, and it's not the kinds of things we shipped yesterday and will continue to ship.
You're looking at the bigger picture and sort of how everything plays together.
We really are. You listen to Larry talk, and I really recommend, if you've only got 20 minutes to digest the keynote, spend them all on Larry's comments at the end. Our products you'll see in the market and you'll get to know them that way, but it's worth listening to Larry. He's got a vision for what we can do with Google that will change the world, change people's lives, improve people's lives. And it's a powerful vision, it's a long-term vision. It's not about a quick fix. It's about what can we do that's really providing lasting, durable value to people that really gives them an improved quality of life. And so that's the way he thinks about it, that's the way we think about it. It's really much less about competition. It's about these products that don't yet exist and haven't even been imagined. That's where the real opportunity is.
All right, Bradley, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Appreciate you taking the time.
That's it for our show. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to Casey Newton and Bradley Horowitz for being here. We'll be back next week from Seattle, where we're taking a look at what Microsoft has cooking with the next Xbox. We'll see you then.